Hey, what's up, studs? Ryan here, or MandRproductions, with another LEGO Star Wars Worst to First video. And this one is on every LEGO Star Wars 2016 set, except polybags, promos, and of course, foil bags. This is just like regularly released retail sets that you could buy at like Target, Walmart, or the LEGO store. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like down below, and at the end of the video, there'll be a playlist for all of my other LEGO Worst to First videos. I love making these videos, and honestly, this one might have been the toughest one for me to create to date. I mean, there's just a lot of mediocrity in the middle here, and I really had a tough time like figuring out what I thought was better than one set and worse than the other. And honestly, this video would have been a lot easier as a tier list. But without further ado, let's get into it with what is undoubtedly the worst set from 2016, and it'll be all buildable figures to start this list. It's Generso. Yeah, we already pretty much know how I feel about this particular buildable figure, just not my cup of tea. Next up is going to be the Rey buildable figure, which honestly might be worse than Generso, but given what I've done to the Generso set, I think Rey has to at least not be last. But I mean, I guess the outfit on this is pretty good. They made a pretty unique cloth piece to run throughout her body and down to her knees, essentially. The goggles on there are actually pretty cool as well, with the green kind of tinted into that. So that actually does look good. There's some decent aspects to this buildable figure, but still, buildable figures I never liked, and that's why they're the entire bottom of this list. Poe Dameron is up next, and admittedly, this one doesn't look terrible either, but still, I mean, it looks like he's got a small head. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like his whole chest area is just huge, and then he's got like a small head on top, and then the helmet makes the head look bigger, but it's still a small head. But the helmet's actually really nice. Those episode 7, 8, and 9 Rebel or Resistance helmets are incredible from LEGO, including the buildable figure version. Next up is Finn, who has a decent outfit. I think they did a decent job getting the accuracy down, but again, I don't have much to say about these buildable figures, so let's move right on. K2SO, who I think they did a really good job on, because they actually gave him like pretty lengthy and skinny arms and legs, which I think really looks accurate to his character. So good job actually on the K2SO buildable figure. Captain Phasma up next, who I like for the most part, really like the cape piece they gave her, but I don't understand why they made her helmet all scratched up. Not really a huge fan of that. I know it's probably accurate, but like, it's supposed to be like clean and shiny, and that's the way I liked Captain Phasma. Kylo Ren is up next, and while there is a print on the torso, they could have just made it a full black torso because it doesn't really look too much different. The helmet is really where this one shines, as well as the lightsaber blade and piece there. So great job on Kylo Ren. First Order Stormtrooper up next. Of course, the Stormtroopers always look best in buildable figure form, in my opinion. And finally, the best buildable figure of 2016 was the Death Trooper, undoubtedly to me. I love the Death Trooper, one of my favorite newer Star Wars characters from Disney, or at least troopers. So they did a great job with the Death Trooper in buildable figure form as well there. So with the buildable figures out of the way, we can move into the system sets. And to me, the worst system set of 2016 is the First Order Stormtrooper Battle Pack. While I like the turret build and the one regular Stormtrooper, I did not particularly love the Artillery Stormtrooper. Maybe I would have liked him more if there was another regular Stormtrooper, but I certainly didn't love the officer minifigures in this set. They really ruined this battle pack to me. I mean, this is one of the all-time gaffes on LEGO's end, I think. I mean, they could have made an epic Stormtrooper battle pack just following the release of Episode 7, and they really dropped the ball. They put out a bad battle pack, and I'm not afraid to say it. The turret was, again, nice. One Stormtrooper was nice, and the rest of it was a wash, and not a lot of people bought this because of that. Next up is going to be a Freemaker Adventure set, the Star Scavenger. This is a set that got a lot of flack because it is admittedly pretty bad. It's rough around the edges. The stupid little walker included is stupid and little. It doesn't have a practical size to it where it can have functionality. It has these really simple limbs with like one joint. On top of that, it does go up and into the Star Scavenger, so I can understand the necessity to make it so small to have it integrate into the set, but still, I'm gonna complain about it. The minifigure selection, for anybody who didn't watch the Freemaker Adventures, and nobody did, was incredibly lackluster, of course, because you only got one really recognizable character, and that's in the battle droid there. And even then, he's in a mixed-matched color palette that looks ridiculous. So that's the Star Scavenger from 2016. Not LEGO's best original set. Next up, the Battle on Takodana, a set that had so much potential and isn't terrible, admittedly. I don't even know why I put it this low down on the list. Maybe because I always felt it was overpriced for $60, and that stigma has still carried with me into modern day in 2020 when I'm recording this video. But it has a pretty nice like rock launching feature. The doors open on the castle. You have a nice bit of detail on the outside. It's got a real nice aesthetic color-wise, but maybe to me the set really really falls apart in the fact that there's no like interior. It's Maz's castle, and there's not much castle going on there. There's no interior. There's nowhere for your minifigures to screw around before the battle begins. It's just a straight up battle, and for a battle, I just don't see a lot going on for it battle-wise. Next up, we have our first microfighter on the list, the TIE Advanced prototype, and I just don't think this one translated well into microfighter form. Sure, it's got that chubby TIE fighter look that all of the TIE fighter microfighters have, but for whatever reason, to me, this one, as much as I kind of like it, just isn't a great microfighter. The Encounter on Jakku set was another one that I thought was overpriced and a lot of people complained about, including myself. You have some interesting figures with some interesting molds, and maybe that's where a lot of the pricing came from. I think that might actually be the reason that this was what a lot of people considered to be overpriced. The Lugabeast was actually a really nice build though, although I think it's a little bit too bright blue. I wish they had a dirtier version of that color that they could have used on this set, because in the movie when you see it, it's not this bright, shiny, clean looking thing. So that's one downfall of making a Lego set like this. I know it's like not really possible, but a dirtier version of that build would actually look really nice to me. Next up was a straight up remake, which was really close to a re-release, minus a 6 stud shooter they added on to the bottom of it. The Homing Spider Droid was a Toys R Us exclusive for 2016 and didn't really innovate or bring anything exciting to the table for a remake. Apparently all it really did was add that 6 stud shooter and maybe make the joints on that spider droid a little bit tighter, but other than that, it was just more of the same from what we had seen just 3 years prior from Lego Star Wars. If they had waited a few years to release a set, maybe it would have been received better, but to me, it just isn't very good as far as a remake goes. They didn't bring anything really new to the table. Kanan's speeder bike set is up next. Positive aspects of this one are that you can actually attach the cargo to the back through the ball joints, which look great. I actually think that's really nice. You have some really cool detonators that you can store in there, as well as some weapons and some nice Imperial troopers. And then you have Kanan's speeder bike, which is admittedly an oversized Harley Davidson motorcycle without wheels. That's really what it looks like to me. This one, admittedly, while it's not as oversized maybe as some of the superheroes ones, it's still pretty oversized. The ATDP microfighter is another one that I just think didn't translate well into microfighter form. It looks nice. You got the ATDP driver there, who otherwise was only included in the actual ATDP, which costs like $50. So it's nice for the price, I suppose, but still just not that great for me. Making it pretty far onto the list here, we have the Advent calendar. Usually these end up pretty low because at least lately they haven't been including any special figures, but this one had a holiday themed Chewbacca and not too many duds as far as builds goes. The Jabba's Palace is great. The Imperial Landing Craft is great. You had a Hoth dish turret. The Boba Fett Slave 1 is an incredible recreation. You had Hoth turret, a Venator, an AAT, droid gunship, Tantive 4, Luke Skywalker, Snowtrooper. I can go on all day. Like, this is an amazing Advent calendar, and maybe it was underrated back in the day, but looking back on it now, I actually quite like this. And this might have been the first year that they had done away with those really stupid weapon holders as well. So that probably went a long way for me looking at this Advent calendar. Next up, the Resistance Troop Transporter, which I really like for the B-Wing aesthetic, but even the interior of this set is actually quite nice. You can open up a front panel and 2 panels on the top to actually get some really nice interior access. You have decent figure selection in this set, nothing great, but that's why it's in the middle of the road here. The Wookiee Gunship Microfighter is one that I think actually translated well into microfighter form. You just got a regular old Rebels style Wookiee, but the actual Wookiee gunship looks really nice in microfighter form. The shaping and general sizing translates pretty well. You have some blasters on the front and some flickfire missiles on each wing. We have some more microfighters here. We have the Resistance X-Wing, which was a really nice recolor of Poe Dameron's X-Wing. We never got Poe Dameron's X-Wing in microfighter form, maybe sometime in the future, but this was actually a really good, cheap way to pick up a really nice Rebel pilot, so that was much appreciated. Same here for the First Order Snowspeeder microfighter. I have like 10 of these, and they're actually a really good design. I bought them on clearance at Walmart. I didn't buy them for full price, just full disclosure there. Cheap way to get a First Order Snowtrooper if you want to build up that army, and you actually get a pretty usable build with a stud shooter on the front there. It actually sizes up pretty nicely to the actual version of the thing. And finally, the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels in microfighter form is another really, really good microfighter. You get the Hera minifigure in a $10 set, and I think she only otherwise might have come in the actual Ghost, which was like $100, so definitely getting this in a cheap set was great for a lot of people, and it actually works really nice in microfighter form as well, kind of like a Millennium Falcon. Back into some bigger Lego sets here. We have the Droid Escape Pod here, which Lego redesigned here in 2016 and actually did a really good job with. They made it much different than the previous version from from 2012. They added in quite a few sticker details, which, you know, some people like and some people hate stickers. You had the Death Star plans included in this set, which was amazing. Of course, R2-D2, C-3PO, and 2 Jawa minifigures to boot didn't hurt the set. Next up is Captain Rex's ATTE, and this is one that I just don't love the aesthetic of. There's just too much going on. I kind of like the Vice City coloring that you get in some areas of this set with like the bright pink and blue and yellow colors there, but other than that, this set really just doesn't deliver for me. It's a real hunk of junk, and I know that's what it is in universe, so I kind of get it. You definitely get some nice minifigures from Rebels if you were into the show, but for me personally, I wasn't really into the show, so getting a Rebels Commander Gregor or old Captain Rex and Commander Wolf and Imperial Inquisitor 5th Brother doesn't really appeal to me. The Resistance Trooper Battle Pack from Episode 7 ends up next on the list here, and you had some pretty cool faces for some Rebel Troopers, some nice army collectability, I suppose, and honestly, this set only comes up so high because I really never like Resistance Troopers and the way they look, is because of that speeder design. It's a really unique speeder design as far as I'm concerned. I haven't really seen anything else like it that LEGO has done, so I really appreciated the speeder design for a battle pack and the fact that you get some troops that you can actually build an army of if you liked them. Another interesting speeder design comes from the Battlefront battle pack, and you definitely get some interesting characters from Battlefront as well. A couple of them with jetpacks. We'll see this again later on. But the speeder kind of reminds you of those Endor speeders in brown, but they've actually souped it up in the back and added another blaster onto the back there for you to be able to shoot at enemies. So I quite like this battle pack. As much as its repurchasability isn't there because I don't want an army of these guys, the speeder and actual characters are quite nice, and I think a lot of people probably enjoyed this battle pack back in 2016 when it was available. Somehow making it rather far up on the list is the Assault on Hoth set. Despite how much crap I've given this set because LEGO applied the UCS moniker to it when it was released, because it's definitely not UCS, it's actually a pretty good conglomeration of Hoth sets. I mean, it does have its cons. The Hoth shield generator is supposed to have 4 shield generator thingies, and it only has 3. That is unacceptable for a UCS level set. Also, the Wampa can't even walk into his own cave through the front door, so that doesn't make a lick of sense. That's another knock. And calling it the Assault on Hoth is an absolute sham when you only have 2 snowtroopers attacking the entirety of the Hoth Rebel base. How is that an assault? More like assault on my wallet. Anyway, the set actually has a really beautiful base design as far as the front gate goes. The trench is actually really decent. You get a couple of really nice turrets that also come in a cheaper set that we'll see a little bit later on. A Freemaker Adventure set that I actually like here. Can you believe it? The Eclipse Fighter. This is a really clean design. The red and black look great, looks very evil, very Sith-like, and then you also get a Dengar minifigure who has his own little speeder bike. Like, this is a great set. It was only $30. If they release this today, they'd probably try to get like $45. Kind of reminds me of General Grievous Starfighter as far as the actual design of the Eclipse Fighter goes. But it has this really neat design where you can actually push in on like the front side of the ship, and then it becomes a more flat design on the front and spreads out. So I quite like that. Really neat set from 2016, an original build by LEGO, not something you actually see in like the Star Wars movies. This set probably could have found itself higher up if it didn't cost $90. It's really expensive. It's based off Rebels. You get Darth Vader's TIE Fighter and an A-Wing. Probably the best designs of both vehicles we have had to date, although the A-Wing probably gets surpassed by the Episode 9 version that we just got a few months back. But still, Darth Vader's TIE Fighter is actually a really solid design, but I just don't see that for $90. We have another of the Battlefront battle packs here on the list, surpassing a lot of other sets, surprisingly. I quite like this one because you have the Shock Trooper, Stormtrooper, and then you have a couple of the Jetpack Stormtroopers there, which are nice, and then you have a little officer, which is actually pretty decent. I like the gray officers as opposed to the all black ones. I just think it looks a little bit better when you have some color contrast there. And then you also have a rather neat little command center build with a little missile launcher on the side of it, so an actually decent and repurchasable battle pack with nice pieces if you didn't want to build all those missile launching command centers. Another set that finds itself surprisingly high on my list here, despite how much I disagree with their decision to re-release this set, it's undeniable that the Death Star is a good set. It's a wonderful play set for children. I don't love it because I can't really display it. It doesn't look great on display, but the refresh with new minifigures all look excellent. Like, they did a great job with that, and the actual build of the Death Star is still one that holds up to today. Like, even though this was a set released originally in 2008 and remade in 2016, the 2016 version version keeps that same aesthetic, adds a little bit to it, some newer pieces and everything, but still looks really clean. That Darth Vader's TIE Fighter looks even better than the original. So overall, as much as I didn't like that they re-released this set, it's still a good set. The Hoth Attack set is up next, and this is the one that I was referencing. You have the solidly designed Hoth dish turret, you have a probe droid, Hoth Rebel Trooper, Han Solo, and then of course a Snow Trooper. You could call this Assault on Hoth as well, because it's a Snow Trooper assaulting Hoth. What do you know? Why didn't they call it that? Oh no. You could spin a knob and it would spin the little turret there. I kind of wish they had included a dish turret in this as well along the trench, although that might have upped the price of the set. And you could actually change the shaping of the trench very easily and also clip it into place if you wanted to. So nice set. Up next, the TIE Striker, which I actually really liked as well. You get some really neat figures from Rogue One there. But the TIE Striker design itself is actually quite beautiful, and they also worked in a very nice little bit of that bluish color in there instead of making it all just gray and black. So I actually really appreciate that. And then the wing system on the set is also wonderful. Being able to raise the wings up the way you can is just great. They lock into place, and then you can drop them down if you want to. Up next is ObiWan Starfighter, which is a very, very refined Jedi Starfighter build. You get R4 and Obi-Wan minifigures. A lot of stickers on this set, admittedly, but it still looks nice enough. And then you have the printed cockpit pieces, which are great. But yeah, very refined Jedi Starfighter here for $25 in 2016. Following that up is the Resistance X-Wing, which, like I said before, was a really nice recolor of Poe Dameron's original X-Wing. Interestingly enough, you still get Poe Dameron with this set. He's come with all the Resistance X-Wings. You also have a Flame Trooper, which was great at the time before it was included in a battle pack another year later. Not that it made this figure any less great. Still love the Flame Troopers. And then you have Lor San Tekka, who was shown in the opening scene of episode 7. So that was kind of neat to get. The Carbon Freezing Chamber was a very interesting $25 playset, including Boba Fett, Han Solo, and an Ugnaught, one of the best figure selections in a $25 set you could probably ask for from episode 6 there. You actually could drop Han Solo into the Carbon Freezing Chamber very easily, which was great. You also had a little control panel, little stairs leading up to it. The aesthetic was just spot on with that orange translucent coloring mixed in there. So a great job by LEGO on this little playset, and one that I think a ton of people loved and picked up. Up next is one that I thought would probably end up lower on the list, but after looking at the rest of the 2016 sets, ended up pretty high, and that is the Clone Turbo Tank. And it's one that's grown on me over the years, and while I'm still not 100% in love with the downsized design, it actually is a pretty compact and well-built set still. It's got the handle built in, you have the scouting tower on top, you've got a couple of turrets on top, one of them has those stud shooters. You have a really nice smaller little clone scout walker with Commander Gree, a Kashyyyk trooper, I think that's Quinlan Voss, and Luminara Unduli, and then a couple of battle droids as throw-ins, I guess. But yeah, a really neat Clone Turbo Tank that I think was underrated because it was downsized from the previous version, but looking back on it, probably isn't all that bad. The Imperial Hover Tank with Chirrut Imwe and a couple of hover tank pilots is up next, and this is a really neat design, really accurate design, and it also had a tie-in with the Battle on Scarif set that came out about a year later, and that set also included another one of those orange containers that you could throw onto the back of this set. And at $30, this was a really, really cool set. You had the cannons on the side of it, which you could move up and down, the cannons in the front, and then one regular blaster up near the hatch on top, kind of like a tank, which I really love. So really neat little design, and a great pseudo battle pack for those Imperial hover tank pilots. The Rebel Combat Frigate from Rebels is up next, which had a very beautiful design, of course, very accurate, I believe. But the real bright spot of this set would be that Ahsoka Tano Rebels minifigure. It's one that I think a lot of people love. It's an expensive minifigure nowadays, but you had a nice fleshed out interior, you had the handle on top, and of course on the back you had the engines, but there was a knob built into the engines that you could actually turn, and you could actually have the ship become a bit of a sleeker design. So a beautiful set that LEGO put out back in 2016. Next up is the Ewing from Star Wars Rogue One, and the Ewing to me is also another underrated set that just doesn't get talked about a lot. This is a beautifully well put together set. You have a gunship like bottom side to the Ewing where you can actually have troops be down there and be ready to attack, and then you also have a very beautifully built cockpit. The color scheming on this is excellent. You have spring-loaded shooters built in as well. The engines are beautiful. Like, the Ewing is an underrated set, and I kind of wish I had more of them. With Baze Malbus included, you had the ATST ATSC. This is the best ATSC design LEGO has ever put out, in my opinion. It is such a beautiful and clean build. You have plenty of space within the cockpit of the build. The legs are posable enough, and then you also have those spring-loaded shooters built into basically what is the mouth of the ATST. Such a beautiful set for $40, and such a shame they went and released the first order ATST a year later for the same price, minus the head. And finally, the best set of 2016, in my opinion, one that LEGO almost didn't make because Disney wanted them to make another set, is Director Krennic's Imperial Shuttle. The all blacked out design on this thing to me is incredible. It comes with two of my favorite minifigures. You have Director Krennic, who just looks wonderful, and then you also have two Death Troopers. Amazing. I know they later came in a battle pack, which was a much easier way to get them, but these Death Troopers came with the pauldron, which the battle pack versions did not. Getting K2SO, I guess, was nice in this set. The other minifigures I didn't really care about, and somehow they were able to get that triangular shape perfect. I mean, you can open up all these panels on it to access the interior, which is great. The wings fold down perfectly. It's actually really big, and the price on this set, $90. What a steal. Director Krennic's Imperial Shuttle is my favorite set of 2016. You guys can comment down below what your favorite set of 2016 was, and if you disagree with anything on this list, of course.